Okay, hi everyone. Uh, we're going to get started. We're going to get started with our talk tonight entitled Space, Symbol, and Identity, Children in the Post-New Order Cinema, as we wait for people to roll in. First, I will introduce our speaker, Dr. Satrya Wibawa. He recently received his PhD in 2019 at the School of Media, Creative Art and Social Inquiry at Curtin University, Perth, in Australia. His dissertation title is Constructing the Nation, Children and Representation in Indonesian Cinema. In his dissertation, he explores the diverse forms through which Indonesian cinema has portrayed child characters. He's also a lecturer at the Communications Department in the Faculty of Social and Political Science at the Universitas Airlangga in Surabaya, Indonesia. His publications include Children's Heroism in Indonesian Cinema, the Representation of Child Heroes in General Kancil, in the Journal of the Academy of Screen and Sound Australia, and a monograph in Indonesian titled Anak-anak dalam layar garing Nugroho, dari eksperimental visual hingga kritik terhadap Orde Baru, Children in Garing Nugroho's films, a visual experimental and critiques against Indonesia's New Order regime, which was published by the East Java Art Council in 2016, and among various other publications. So, without further ado, thanks very much, Dr. Satrya, for being here. We're going to, I believe, watch a video essay that will go along with the talk. So I'll give it to you as far as figuring out where to position that.
Okay.
So welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you to University of Nottingham Asia Research Institute Malaysia. Thank you, Dr. Gek. Thank you, Dr. Thomas Barker. And thank you to you, Dr. Doug Benson. Also, I don't know, Sarina Muhammad Chan. Thank you for organizing this event. And yeah, of course, thank you for the opportunity for me to share, the ideas and my thoughts, and also maybe share my result of my research, like I've done for like a year ago. The pandemic things makes me forget everything. And my apologies, I'm not really familiar with the Microsoft Teams. This is my first time, so I will trying to fix things out. The title is a Space and Identity, Children in the Post-New Order in Cinema. I'm not sure, maybe we need to see the video later on, but I need to tell you that the video is a part of my dissertation. It's a video essay explaining the result of my research, and also my reading on films of one particular director, Dini. But my presentation will be mostly focused on one aspect of my research is the Indonesian cinema post-New Order, especially two films, Jamal and Denias Senandung di Atas Awan. So to give you guys the context of my research, may I have to screen my video first. It's a 20 minutes videos, but I will cut it into two parts. The part one is only for the giving the context of the Indonesian cinema, children in Indonesian cinema, and I will do my presentation. And after that, I will screen the part of my reading of Camilla Andini films. Okay, check. A minute. Share screen. Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yeah.
Yep.
mereka adalah orang-orang yang masih eksploratif gitu. Bentuknya, cara berpikir mereka bentuknya adalah pertanyaan-pertanyaan.
Nama saya Hamli dari Provinsi Sulawesi Tengah, Kabupaten Bangkai. Saya mau tanya, mengapa presiden di Indonesia cuma satu, padahal Indonesia sangat luas?
Kenapa kamu tanya begitu? Kenapa? Siapa kamu tanya begitu? Siapa yang suruh sobat? Karena hanya ingin tahu saja. Kalau di rumah juga begitu, kan tidak ada bapak 2-3.
During the new order, former Indonesian President Suharto persistently used images of the family and children to represent the relation between the state and the Indonesian people. In this, the school plays a significant role. It is likely that they will experience national politics in their everyday lives. Children in Indonesia are not absent from political agendas. They are represented as innocent, but their life world is far from the classical tales of purity and fantasy.
Seperti biasa, mulai!
Indonesian children are often used to convey political agendas to the nation. And sometimes the forced involvement of children in adult political life can go too far.
Inilah detik-detik setelah terjadinya ledakan bom bunuh diri di pintu depan Polrestabes Surabaya. Seorang anak tampak selamat dari ledakan tersebut dan diselamatkan seorang petugas polisi.
But how have children been depicted in Indonesian cinema? The history of Indonesian cinema suggests that films often use child characters to convey political messages and project images of the nation. Indonesian films made during the Dutch and Japanese colonial periods presented child characters as signifiers of an Indonesian national identity that opposed colonialism. Post-colonial Indonesian films use banal nationalist symbols such as flags and images of military marches as part of a nationwide strategy to build patriotism. Child characters were depicted as patriotic citizens in waiting, and their world was filled with hope, happiness, and optimism about the emerging Indonesian nation.
Bikin apa kamu di sini?
Tidak, Bu.
Kok mau tahu urusanku ya?
Tidak, Bu.
Kecil mau tahu urusan orang.
During the new order, children were represented as uniform and submissive, as fully integrated into the social structure of the family.
Hari tahu, dalam keluarga Papa tidak ada yang mencuri. Mencuri itu hina.
Childhood was depicted as gloomy, stressful, and traumatic. In 1982, Suharto sought political legitimation by presenting himself as the father of the nation in the state-sponsored film Serangan Fajar. The identity of the nation is imagined through the figure of the war hero.
Itu kenapa di sini?
Berjuang. Mencari bapak. Itu kenapa di sini?
Ya berjuang juga.
After the fall of the New Order in 1998, Indonesian filmmakers started to favor diversity.
Tim Setiawan telah mengikuti Pesta Tahun Baru Cina dan itu menjadikannya sebagai seorang Cina sejati. Untuk TV! Untuk TV! Untuk TV!
However, the tendency to construct representations of children as ideal citizens remained strong. The memory of post-colonial patriotism reappears. Once again, banal nationalist propaganda is heavily used. Images of the cheerful life of the children are used to deliver messages about the idealized future of the nation.
Okay, I need to stop the screening. I will discuss the content of my presentation. So I will share the So my presentation here proposed that space is subjective and political. The space becomes a conceptual approach that raising the embedded political, social, and cultural issues. I'm interested in the role of space in the film. That is when such ideologies find material expression in space portrayed through filmic media. The space becomes the main field of filmic plot, narrative, and style. Cinematic space reveals the material to which the film refers. In particular, these ideologies and identities are played out in the cinematic space of children in the narrative of Indonesian film. Cinematic space is represented how film narrative performs, how to understand the characters, and also guide the audiences in order to understand the film narrative. However, as film is a subjective form of director's view, then the setting might also produce a distinct view of the space in the film. The space that might unique or particularly create reference of the space to which it refers. The cinematic space then is utilized to place symbols that enforce specific representation of the narrative. In the context of Indonesian cinema, the numerous scholars have attempted to explain how images of innocent children were used to represent an ideal of citizenship during the New Order regime. It shows that the Indonesian state during the New Order developed images of children to convey a sense of nationhood through the family system, the schooling program, and the media. These elements are interconnected and have been built as a holistic ideological system. An idealist family culture was constructed through the schooling system and the media with the schooling process created by imitating the family environment. The patron's culture that is represented in the father's image as the supreme member was applied in the classroom by positioning the teacher as the patron and primary figure, and students as subordinate. Utilization of the mass media supported this patronage culture as acceptable national identity by disseminating the state's ideology principally through film and television. The notion of nationhood depicted in the image of children as citizens and influences by dominant ethnic culture was deliberately constructed through the New Order's ideology to support the regime's political purposes. The New Order government urged its citizens to be engaged in informal education through the family and provide the formal curricula through the schooling system. The New Order endorsed the concept that the children should be educated and be trained to become good citizens. Therefore, mass schooling curricula was designed within a paternalistic and authoritarian culture to guide and to direct the children into the adult society. For example, under the centralized curricula, the New Order created an official textbook that delivered the state's messages, official facts, and national values. The school and home setting becomes the space to deliver these messages. Ariel Herianto, in his book Identity and Pleasure, The Politics of Indonesian Screen Culture, argues that Indonesian post-1998 attempt to reconstruct a new Indonesia to end the traumatic memory of the New Order. Post-1998 Indonesia needed to confront the more difficult challenges of maintaining unity in the populations in order to move forward and enjoy the fruits of their victory. After 3 decades under an authoritarian regime, the newly reformed Indonesia intended to leave its traumatic past behind, but this process is still hindered by the fact that at many levels of cultures, the ideas that continue to identify Indonesia as a nation are those of the New Order. This complex situation mixes with the reality that the New Order's political system fundamentally remains the same within Indonesian society. Considering the New Order's powerful political and ideological hegemony, its influence on post-New Order Indonesian cinema remains visible. For example, in the continuation of narrative structure of order and disorder, also restoration of order in Indonesian horror film. However, during the transformation of the authoritarian regime into a more democratic system, there have been some fundamental changes to what was previously allowed, restricted, or prohibited in film narrative in Indonesia. Indonesian cinema, after the New Orders, rereads Indonesia as a nation through its featuring of an ethnic and cultural diversity that had been forbidden during the New Order, discussing taboo subjects within a religious context, and confronting sensitive issues on gender and sexuality. The post-New Order cinema in Indonesia presents a radical change of aesthetic and artistic sense. For example, through diverse depiction of landscape, geographies, and other urban spaces. After 1998, the number of film production in Indonesia drastically increased to the various genres, including the children film genre. During the period from 1999 to 2015, Indonesia produced up to 2,300 films, and among these, approximately 50 films featuring children in the narrative. In some of these films, child characters are utilized to deliver adult messages about Indonesian diversity, discuss sensitive issues of contemporary Indonesian life, or suggest changes to the social role of the school and the family. However, most New Order films have generally avoided using child characters to voice high sensitive issues, such as the West Papuan conflict, promote banal nationalism, and construct model of citizens. As after years of political turmoil and as part of creating the new Indonesian post-1998, some films continued to feature spirit of nation building, but by exploring national identity through the diverse of Indonesianness, as well as more through discourses on local richness, which contribute to diminish the traumatic memories of an authoritarian, homogenized Indonesia. Therefore, after the new order ended as political regime in 1998, many of its ideological practices continue actively. For example, the habit to use images and tropes of children as models of the nations within nationalist discourses. Indeed, this ideological use of representation of children in the main narrative of films also remain during Indonesian reform. As consequences, although many post-New Order films have favored the fiction of culture, ethnic, and racial diversity, seemingly to challenge the New Order's monocultural ideological legacy, child characters have continued to use as a symbol for projecting ideals of Indonesia as a nation. Jerma, directed by Raffi Barwani, is the first and only Indonesian film to date featuring the lives of child workers in a Jerma. Jerma's floating fishing platform, commonly used in western part of Indonesia, which have been found to be sites of illegal child laborers. While Jerma is not classified under the children's film genre, the film uses a neorealist approach by casting real Indonesian child workers in real Jerma, juxtaposed with a focus on the relationship between one of the two child workers, Jaya, and his father, Johar. Jaya, a 12-year-old boy, lost his mother and has been sent to the only family he has, which is Johar, who never knew he had a son. 12 years ago, Johar escaped from the law after killing a man who had an affair with his wife, Jaya's mother. And now he managed illegal child workers in the remote Jerma out in the sea. Jaya and Johar start their new phase of life awkwardly. Jaya expects Johar acknowledgments while Johar refuses to accept Jaya as his son. Meanwhile, Jaya tries hard to adapt to a new life in the Jerman. I will show you the trailer of the film, so for some of you that might be not know the film will know a little bit about the context. Oh, I need to, sorry.
Anak apa? Aku tak punya anak.
Namanya Jaya. Abang ingat, abang suka nama itu.
Kau bikin kau ke dalam lo? Apa lagi yang orang-orang itu bilang? Apa lagi yang orang-orang itu bilang?
Jermal heavily utilizes space to deliver the narrative. The setting of Jermal deep in the middle of the sea, nowhere from everywhere, expresses the loneliness of children who are separated from their parents, as well as the separation of citizens from its nations. Thus, the Jermal is constructed as a place where the inhabitants hide away from their problems and create their own culture and rules, separate from the state, but also placing themselves as a forgotten minority. Also, in personal level, a space is created as a border between character of Jaya and Johar. The film places this part of the narrative only in the specific setting of Johar's bedroom. All conversation between Jaya and Johar or about Johar's family issues only happen in this room. Johar creates this room as a personal space to keep his past and his memory secret. Here, Jonas keeps all the letters he received from his wife with picture of Jaya, which he has never read. By isolating his personal narrative level in Johar's room, the film parodies the family theme from child worker issues. Film is Denias Senandung di Atas Awan, or Denias Senandung, directed by John Deranto, is one of the few films made in Papua after the New Order, and one of only two among those that attracted wide attention. Denias won prize at several film festivals, including Best Children Feature Film at the Asia Pacific Screen Awards in 2007, and also official Indonesian entry to the 18 Academy Awards. The narrative of Denias Senandung is based on a true story, a Papuan village boy who wanted to study at a school located far away from his home. The use of space in this film shows the idea of connecting children with the idea of Papua as a part of Indonesian territory by reframing national symbols with the landscape of Papua. Through the character of Maleo, the film narrative juxtaposed the theme of Indonesian nationalism with issues about formal education. Nationalism appears in banal symbols such as Indonesian national anthem, Indonesian flag, and the red and white school uniform. These national symbols convey a blunt affirmation of national identity and work as a modern totem to reconfirm the state and the territory. So the trailers.
Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia, Bapak. Mama tunggu dengan sekolah dulu, Mama. Mama, bangun. Halo, sama tanya. Dinas bilang sekolah jauh pakai seragam sekolah kah? Ku pastikan diriku akan pergi dari cita-cita. Takkan harapanku tak akan. Guru bilang tugas kami belajar dan tugas dia mengajar. Belajar itu bisa di mana saja. Tapi tidak ada yang ngajar kami, Maleo. Dari balik awan ku lihat cahaya. Dari balik awan dengar jawaban. Dari balik awan ku kejar impianku. Dari balik awan. Dari balik awan.
Denias, tunggu. Kau juga harus tahu diri, Denias. Kalau sampai ada apa-apa, siapa yang mau tanggung jawab?
So I argue that national symbols work similarly in all nations as form of bonding, legitimizing the state formal authority on the citizens who are expected to show loyalty and effort to the state. In Denia Senandung, the Indonesian national anthem is heard in the scene when Denia shows his island miniature to his family. This is paradox scenes, since there is a long history of violence and political turmoil between the Indonesian military and Papuan People's Movement. Denias and his family acceptance of this official national identity is strengthened in Denias and his friend's request for a school uniform. After Denias' friend had been persuaded to join the temporary village school, Malio requests red and white uniform from his commander and then gives them to all students who were then proudly feeling as a true of Indonesian student. In this case, uniforms are all about control, not only the social, but also the inner self and its formation. Through the school uniform, the state controls and transforms these children into representatives of the nations. Through this depiction in the film, Indonesian national anthem, national flag, national red and white school uniform reinforce attachment to the nation and encourage patriotism and loyalty from Papuans toward the Indonesian state. A depiction of flag raising ceremony appears in the film's closing scene when Denias makes peace with Noel as they wear their red and white school uniform, raising the Indonesian national flag and wearing the red and white uniform become important symbol in the scene to counter the independent Papua movement rising up against the Indonesian government. The independent Papua movement accused by separatism by Indonesian government has similarly symbolized the resistance to the Indonesian government by raising the Morning Star flag. For the Indonesian government, raising a flag other than an official Indonesian national flag is considered as separatist and a serious crime. Despite the perceived uncertainty among scholars of Indonesian studies regarding the ending of West Papua Indonesian conflict, Denia Senandung closing scene established with great confidence the eager assimilation of the Papuan children into the Indonesian nation. In the scene, Denias and his friends walk to the mountain in an attempt to see his friend, but are only able to see his helicopter flying past, suggesting that these children have been already educated and accepted as a citizen by the Indonesian state. So, in these two films, Jerman introduced child labor issues to public discussion that are rarely addressed in Indonesian cinema before, by sparating this narrative into scenes of child labor and scenes of father-son relationship. Jerman create a space to address the problem of child labor in all male Indonesian industries, as well as the families and the state neglect of vulnerable and underprivileged children. The film also signifies education as survival strategy for these children within a society that appears to have completely forgotten about them. Similar issue of space and otherness are found in Denias, which set up binary opposition between Papuan and non-Papuan identities within the ongoing history of political conflict in the province. This analysis of this post-neo-Renaissance film has shown that these child characters carry responsibilities of nation building through their roles within the respective film narrative. The child protagonists are made to promote national identity through national symbols, such as the school uniform and the national flag. The space becoming the medium of the delivering the message, the school, the homes, and also national symbols that appear in the film as signifiers of a bond between the children, their peers, their families, and their society. Jaya, who wears his school uniform at Jerman, is both spirited and connected among his fellow child workers, as the school uniform signifies his status as educated and therefore a citizen and leader. Papuan boy Denias seeks an official acknowledgement of being an Indonesian student by asking for a school uniform, without which he feels he does not belong to Indonesia. His search does end with his participation in school flag raising ceremony, wearing his brand new red and white Indonesian national school uniform. The space of the school, and then given the idea of a school becoming the medium of the state to deliver of idea of becoming national identity. And I will show you the film from my reading of Camilla in this film. to show the way she used space to separate adult and child conversation and to identify the issues between them.
Then something different appeared. Camilla Andini's films.
Udah dewa.
Saya selalu punya concern terhadap Indonesia, terhadap siapa saya sebagai kreator, siapa saya sebagai orang Indonesia, dan saya ingin mengkomunikasikan itu. Tapi kenapa film? Karena pertanyaan-pertanyaan saya atau pencarian-pencarian saya jawabannya selalu visual, selalu bentuknya adalah gambar, adegan, situasi, perasaan, feeling.
It's a very hard journey to make a youth film in very different perspective now and then. So I want to thank my children for this.
Kau belajar apa lagi kan nanti di sekolah? Jangan kau belajar cermin terus. Sudah lupa Mika kau jalan ke sekolah.
The Mirror Never Lies is a film about a girl who looks for her lost father by developing all the curiosity towards her relationship with her mother.
Buat saya film itu komunikasi ya gitu. Film mengkomunikasikan pemikiran saya sebagai seorang sutradara gitu. Ya pemikiran ini bisa banyak gitu, dan setiap film, setiap ide biasanya beda-beda. Kadang-kadang saya mengkomunikasikan apa yang ingin saya utarakan, kadang saya mengkomunikasikan sikap saya terhadap sesuatu, kadang saya mengkomunikasikan hanya pertanyaan-pertanyaan saya tentang kehidupan, tentang manusia.
Sandra!
Ya gejala suku gede.
Penjualan apa tuh Pak?
Penjualan bisa kotak, penjualan apa? Bisa penjualan makanan kotak.
The Seen and Unseen is about a girl who seeks refuge in an imaginary world to cope with the trauma of the illness of her twin brother.
Pertama dari perspektifnya, karena mereka adalah orang-orang yang masih eksploratif gitu. Bentuknya, cara berpikir mereka bentuknya adalah pertanyaan-pertanyaan.
Kalau Kusena sendiri, kalau peran Tantra itu kan nggak terlalu banyak. Jadi kayak agak masuk sama karakter diri sendiri, sama karakter Tantra. Ya karena karakternya Tali itu agak masuk sih memang di karakter Tantri dalam film The Seen and Unseen.
Film adalah tentang changing perspektif gitu, dan yang memang di depan dari sebuah film adalah perspektif, dan kadang-kadang perspektif ini yang kemudian memicu sesuatu, memberikan sudut pandang yang baru gitu dari saat kita melihat sebuah keadaan gitu, dan ini bisa merubah banyak hal sebetulnya.
Kau belajar apa lagi kan nanti di sekolah? Jangan kau belajar cermin terus.
Andini's films, The Mirror Never Lies and The Seen and Unseen, present nuanced tales about the hardships of parental loss.
Kau tidak dengar kak kau? Caro mengiru di punangkau alewanu. Mau no pekera. Udah ada ruana di dikitor.
In The Mirror Never Lies, the conflict between a girl and her mother shades a narrative of loss.
Masih masih sandrum pakai ko. Ha.
Boleh ibi. Joknya aku bejak bejuk. Nak kenapa? Jelek dia ni?
Hidang sirap.
Hidang sirap. Terus kemudian nih?
Mau pelalian jak tante.
In the seen and unseen, the loving relationship between a mother and daughter color the sorrow of their mourning.
Ibu nak nawang, Ning pasti senang aja adik. Ibu masih iseng. Bapak masih iseng. Tapi jadi tante nak perlu lebih istirahat. Lain kali seger.
Sandra masih iseng karena ya ibu.
Both films depict the relationship between a mother and her daughter through narratives of desire, loss, jealousy, and care. Andini often uses framing doorways and depth of field to separate her child characters from the adults and their conversations. She places children in open landscapes, setting them against the adults who are generally inside their houses. Creates borders and distances between the children and the adults. They present their stories by moving on the boundary between childhood's reality and imagination. Andini's soft and natural color palette underlines the delicacy of feeling of the children's view of the world. Children are only able to see from the border what the adults do. The home is an adult territory that might not fit into the children's world of symbols and imagination.
Laut itu kejam, Markis. Apapun bisa terjadi sama bapakmu. Ya, izinkan dia.
Andini's films are dedicated to the struggle of children who have experienced personal loss. She personifies this struggle through symbolic images, such as that of a girl who insists on looking out for her father in a mirror. The mirror in this film stands in for both self-reflection and the power of hope. By using the mirror, the girl can see her own struggle and is able to decide which path she must choose. Through a mirror, a girl can dream without limits and hope for the return of her lost father.
Itu cermin itu cara pandangan balan ya. Cermin itu kan lagi kulit karena dibilang.
Kami aku tinggal nawakku.
Orang pada terintah juga nih. Terintah daya, terintah itu mau cermin itu. Pada ruang mata kita, segala air mata kita melihat oleh kita memang segala buku kareu langkoe.
These films are a spellbinding cinematic excursion into the confusing adventures and imagined worlds of childhood. In the seen and unseen, eggs become a symbol of struggle. The egg is used in this film to represent the chillingly tight relationship between twins. Also, the ambiguous relation between reality and imagination. The loss of an egg signifies the loss of one of the twin brothers, but also loss of faith in life due to pain and loneliness. Through an egg, a girl can get to accept the loss of her brother. Andini's films seek to unveil a liminal zone within the children's world, between the spiritual and the embodied. They show Indonesian children as themselves, children living in their own world.
Ombak datang dan pergi. Setiap gelombang apapun, ia pergi dan datang membawa sesuatu yang baru. Ombak datang dan pergi. Pergi dengan perahu, pulang membawa ikan-ikan. Pergi dengan ikan, pulang membawa beras dan garam. Ombak pergi dan tidak pernah pulang dengan sesuatu yang sama.
Garam putih hidup di pasir, ekor pari seperti paku. Nona cantik.
In her films, Camilla Andini challenges the stereotype of the child as the nation's ideal citizen, reconstructing a more traditional and genuine children's world in which happiness and sorrow, lost and hope coexist.
Yang ada di bulannya galang joy. Gelo hilang galangnya. Yang sing nepuin tantra samur. Tantra galang jare bulan purnama.
Okay, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. I hope we can have more discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Igak. If people have questions, we can applaud, yes. Thank you. And if people have questions, you could put it in the chat, or you can reveal yourself or turn your mic on and speak up and ask. And if I can start it off while we're waiting for other people to figure out what they want to ask. So thanks again for this very interesting talk. So I'm curious, one of the things that I'm curious about when I think about this kind of pattern of showing nationalism through children, through the New Order and into now, is how does this fit or not fit with something like Anderson's imagined community? In other words, Anderson's imagined community, as most of us probably know, is all about kind of regular forward movement, you know, in sort of regularized steps. It's, you know, it's all about this sort of mechanized time and thinking, imagining the nation in you know, as almost like a machine. So does this complicate that when we're even in the New Order, when we're imagining it through children, or how do you think that works?
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Yes, when I tried to read these films, okay, I heard my own sound when I was when I read the film from, you know, some film after the New Order, and I see that the way Ben Anderson reflecting the imagined communities of the nation is quite similar with the way in recent film put children as a part of the ambassador of the nation state. It's quite similar with the Ben saying about how everything was the community was imagined to create you know, like working together as a team for the nation state. For example, when for the in the scene of the Nias Nandas Awan, for example, the use of similarity symbols, common symbols, national symbols is simplified by the film to see, oh, this is Indonesia. By you wearing the red and white flag, uniform, and also by you raising the red and white flag. This is part of the way to construct the idea about this is the easiest way to be Indonesian. So the character of the film, you know, officially being Indonesian if he's doing that. And also this another film, kita punya bendera is about the character who a Chinese kid who questioning his identity, whether he is Indonesia or not. His friend kind of, you know, formalizing his Indonesia because he embedded with them participate in the Monday morning raising flag ceremony, and also wearing the red and white school uniform to identify himself as a part of Indonesia. I think is that answer your questions? I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Doug.
Sorry, my mic was off. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I just wondered because I mean, I always feel like sometimes Anderson's theory is too simple. And so, I mean, I thought that the idea of kids symbolizing the nation is very interesting. In one way, it's always moving forward, but in another way, it sort of keeps moving back to the beginning. So in some sense, you know, even during the New Order, you could see it as like, we need to start over again and again and again. So there's something more cyclical there that's sort of what occurred to me as I was listening to your talk. So I think, yeah. Do we have other queries?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Hi, Iga. Thanks for a really interesting talk. I have two questions. One is, one has to do with the other kinds of films that came out around that time. Films like Petualangan Sherina, which I guess is a children's musical, and then the film which is set in the desert between a young woman and the mother, and then the father comes. Pasir Berbisik. Those kinds of films, and then the kind of later on the more commercial Laskar Pelangi. So where, you know, how do you read those films? And then my second question is, how does her representation of children differ from her father's representation of children? How do her films representation differ from Gary Nugroho's representations of children? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. Yeah, the second question is interesting also. how Camilla trying to put herself in the different position with his dad. Okay, the first question is well, I put especially on Petualangan Sherina and Laskar Pelangi is also showing a similar narrative of the way children bring the identity. For example, the family and the school is still very important as part of delivering the messages. So in Petualangan Sherina, for example, she is heavily depends on what the parents say about things, the decision, the taking part of the parents, and also in the school, teachers take the orders of the classroom, and being the role models of the kids. So kids still becoming the one side who, parents, as Sendal say, you break the rules and doing the disorder, and the parents come and to fix them. Also in Laskar Pelangi. So the same pattern as Krishna Sen suggests, order, disorder, and restore to the order patterns, it still remains in the narrative. And so I'm not put them as a part of my research, but I also see the similarity of the pattern in there. But second questions, yes, I have to say they have a similarities. The way to put children as their ambassador for the messages. But I think Garin is mostly, I know it's still a very subjective opinion for me. Camilla focused on the girl side. So well, maybe quote unquote feminist side. So they put her perspective. I think I feel like she put herself in the characters. the way she look at the loss, the way she, especially when they put the child characters and adult characters, is a boundaries. She always put the children outside the boundaries and look out to the adult like a separated world, totally different world. The children don't want to come inside, and also the adults doesn't want the children to come inside. But different with Garin intend to breaking the borders. For example, very clearly shown in the Surat Untuk Bidadari, the only child characters in there becoming the only child within the adults' worlds in the narrative. So the child characters is the physically is children, but his environment, his ecosystem is adult ecosystem. The way he thinks, the way he walks, the way, and then he, trying to make a revenge to the bad guy in the narrative is adult ways. So I think the differences between Camila and Garin is Camila trying to put the character as a child. So he puts boundaries between adult character and children character, but Garin tends to mix between the child character and the adult characters. I think so. So, but yeah, thank you. This is giving me an idea to try to do research between this father and daughter's films. Thank you, guys.
And we could also think about Down di Atas Bantal, right?
Yeah, Atas Bantal. Also.
I mean, it seems like it might follow the pattern of mixing children with adults as well.
Yeah, I think it's trying to mix the characters and I don't know, maybe his ways to put his perspective through the child character, but in a way, still the child character becoming an adult in the narrative. But in Camila Sandini's film, I think Camila put the clear border between adult and children by adult becomes so realistic and the children being imaginative and imaginary.
Yeah.
I think that doesn't have. I think so.
Yeah. Other questions from the crowd here?
Hi, Doc. Petra here. Can I ask a question?
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I was just wondering, based on the research that's been done, how do you see the depiction of children in film going forward, especially with the sort of political events that are happening around you? And perhaps have there been any discussions among filmmakers where you are looking at how they also want to start filming children moving forward? Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Yes, there's a trend that because there's no longer political restriction in Indonesia at the time, so there's a tendency to put the ideas of giving more freedom of the space for the filmmakers to place children more on, like placing them in sensitive issues freely without, being afraid of being censored on things. So there will be like a more diverse topics of the children's, for example, but also as the topic of the children and Indonesian film is not really like popular, becoming industry. So I think the filmmakers trying to be more selective, except for some particular directors, for example, Alenia Pictures, Ari Syasali and Nia Alexander, who only focus on children films. So maybe they will have more opportunity to explore topics on idea and placing children as the adult. But so far as I watch their films is like they placing too many messages about Indonesia in there, like a formal messages, how to be a good Indonesian children, how to be good Indonesian citizen, how to be a good student. In the good one is that they present children from different areas, from Timor, Sumba, some remote area as well. But I think in the future will be like more diverse of themes or topics of children film. But also it really depends on who's the director who made the film. I think so. Thank you. Is the answer to your questions? Thank you, Pedro.
Sort of seems like Petualangan Cerina also positions children as adults, right?
Yeah, but still in Petualangan Cerina, in my argument, they're still being children. You know, there's the parents take control of everything, and when they got issues, being kidnapped and things, the one who resolve is not only Serena, but I think the parents that finish the issues.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking, because that's why, okay, this is pattern. The children is always being put as a, like a become a troublemaker, and then the one who fixes it is the parents. The same patterns comes out. Even from the General Kancil also show very similar patterns, considering it made in 1959. Sorry, 51. 57. 51 is si Pinjan. The film showing children as rebellious at first, symbolizing the conflict of military, and the parents say, why do you want a pistol gun? Why do you got a toy gun? Too many people having a gun at the moment. Why do you choose the toy gun? And then the kids, Ahmad Albar, keep having the toy gun, and then he saved the villages. The parents admit the action. Okay, you save the villages, but having a gun means trouble. After this, can you disband your group and giving me the gun? That's it. And the kids, okay, I'm no longer have a group. I will give my gun to you and resolve. So the parents come as a, the problem solved always.
Okay. Did you also say that children are kind of a way to sneak political issues in there without it being flagged by censors or the government?
Yeah, I think so. Some films, especially during the New Orders, some films, especially Garis, aku ingin mencium sekali saja is a very blunt images of using children to deliver a political messages. So it's quite safe. It's totally different. If we use adult character, it will be different.
Right.
I think
it's interesting. It's interesting though to think, in the history of Indonesian cinema, one of the vehicles for sort of covert political messages is children. Another big one is prostitutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's an interesting irony there.
Yeah. I think it's different there, and also I think it's totally subjective. Depends on who the director who made the film.
Yeah.
We know historically, I think it's getting quite safe because everyone knows him and then things. For example, so compared to like more not really well-known director will be different, but the way using children as the safest ways to deliver a political message or critical message is quite common. I think Jamilah and also Jamilah Sang President also quite the similar issues. They use the Jamilah characters, and the longest series, I think the film, I think 4 directors make a film all together. It's also delivering political messages. And the recent films, The problem is now, it's not the government is the issues. I think the problem is the society. The last film being accused as a religion blasphemy. That's the issues now, I believe, because I don't think the government will be like trying to control everything now, but the community or the society now.
The new order turned inside out in Reformas. We have two questions. One is, what about Ada Apa Dengan Cinta, and also what about Dua Garis Biru?
Okay, Ada Apa Dengan Cinta, I'm not considered Ada Apa Dengan Cinta is a children film actually. I think it's teenagers romance film, but I think Ada Apa Dengan Cinta is coming the right moment. It's easy narrative, easy stories, and all the stars also, all the teenagers' favorite. So even though there's a sensitive scene about a father being accused being a communist and things, but it's not really significant scene, I believe, as well as Hanung Bramantyo film Lentera Merah. Even though discussing the commerce issue, is not really like openly discussing the sensitive issues. So I think there will be like less concern by the people. It's totally different with Mata Tertutup or Tanda Tanya. It's openly discuss the sensitive issue, and also the issue comes not from the government but from the society, the religious group or the society actually. So I think the challenges is now different. It's not the government we see. Well, it's still becoming problems, but it's not really main issues.
And Dua Garis Biru?
Okay, I forgot Dua Garis Biru is about the one who being pregnant, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah, Dua Garis Biru is quite progressive. I'm not saying radical. It's progressive. Openly discussing pregnancy married by accident or pregnancy before the marriage and thing. It's quite progressive, reflecting the sensitive issues in Indonesia. But I think the most sensitive issue in Indonesia is religions. It's no longer sexuality thing. Or at least you will, if you talk about LGBT issues, this will be different. So yes, it's sensitive issues, but it's less sensitive compared to if we're talking about religious. You see the last children film. I forgot the title, being accused as blasphemy, because the bad character saying words in religious. And there is a campaign to boycott the film because the initiators said the film promotes the idea a bad person is religious. So it's nothing actually. The issue is nothing actually compared to the about Dua Garis Biru, but I think more focus or more concern on that film rather than Dua Garis Biru.
That's an opportunity for filmmakers. Right?
Yeah,
you have to read the patterns.
I think Ben finding of film during the New Order is also interesting because I think he found more open scene on the sexuality is screen during the New Order because the government less concerned about the film. The title of that film I forgot, guy. I think it's a Nora, and it's a film about children being kidnapped by one or two bad guys, and the bad guys saying religious words, and their words becoming the focus. I think Nora and Petualangan or something. I forgot the title. So there's a massive campaign using the internet to boycott the film. During the first week of the screening. Oh, really? What was going on in Malaysia? Yeah. That's why I said the problem is not the government at the moment. I think we get more issues on society. Okay, Mas Haryadi, thank you for the question, Mas. Yeah, that's why I say Garin try to mix the word of the character of the children with the adult society issues. What the street children reveals in the narrative is not merely children issues, I believe, because it's saying about how the state neglect the state children, how they becoming the stateless or citizenless, or because the state doesn't pay attention to the street children, and also it's not merely about children, orphan children, but simply about the state neglecting its citizen. So I think the film Garin trying to address political issues, adult issues, using children characters. I agree about that, Mas Haryadi. That's the I think the like Garin signatures when he used children characters. Also, if we see one title about the Garis movies setting in Solo, Bulan Tertusuk Ilalang, he mentioned about the childhood and things using the toys, and it's clearly he used childhood and child characters as his way to reflect his vision about some like adult issues, not merely children issues. Naura and Geng Juara, thank you, Mbak May.
Have you seen Cinta dari Wamena?
It's about a HIV AIDS campaign, right?
Partly, yeah.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it because I tried to find the film. I can't find it.
I can't remember if I have it, but if I do, I can try to send it to you. It's not. It doesn't only focus on kids, but it has a very interesting scene in Papua with kids in school who are laughing at national symbols and making fun of the teacher. Yeah, it's the opposite of Denias. It's actually really cool. And I watched it in a theater in Jogja, and there was a lot of like SMP, SMA kids in the audience. It just happened to be, and they were laughing their heads off when the kids in Papua were laughing at nationalist school symbols. So it's
so
maybe
surreal.
Another example of sneaking political issues through with children, right?
I haven't seen that because I'm looking for that during my research, because I want to make it a part of the research subject, but I find it Danish is more, I will say brutal to say use the national and then using the military as the idol of the character in there, especially the Kopassus. If you see the teachers, they actually the Kopassus members, is so ironic. Knowing that the military having an issue in Papua, but in this film, it seems like the problem solver of the issues is the military.
Right. Yeah, it's a little scary.
Just like President Suharto asking, who told you to ask these questions?
Yeah, that even though I was never even in Indonesia during Suharto, but that clip gives me the creeps so badly.
Yes, Guy, I agree. A very highly problematic film, Denias, especially when they using so surrealist scene when the last scene when the kids running in the hill, and then the chopper come pass by. It's so surrealist. Placing children character in that scene for me, because it seemed like trying to diminishing the context of the Papua.
Yeah.
Agreed. I'm fully agree with you, Gabe. But also, this is not formal. Like, I heard it informally from some friends because they got funding from the military as well, so they got access for everything. Also, they have also similar strategy for the films, using the government funding, using the like some department, the government department has their budget to to make a campaign and things, so they being allocated the fund for that. It's not really, it's like rumors, but yeah, it makes sense. And the way they place the space with the the flag and the background, the purple background, the landscape with the only merah putih flag is so surrealist.
Yeah. We have other questions from our audience. I can ask, what about, there's another interesting political children film, Tanah Surga Katanya.
Oh, Deddy Miswar.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I haven't watched the film yet, so I think so.
Okay, we're going to give you homework then too.
Yeah, there's the things, but I haven't get time to watch this one. But I think so. Children in the Border, and the parents goes to Malaysia, I believe.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it really hangs nationalism on the child character in a way. In a weird, and it's it seems to be critical for a long time, and then it sort of jerks you back into this. No, you must love the nation, and the child and his love for his grandfather is nationalism. That no matter what bad things the government does, you still must be nationalist. Basically, is the message.
I think they're trying to translate immediate community bannerism so blatantly.
Yeah, yeah.
So they put everything as so like blatant everything. If you with the symbols and thing, then you are Indonesia. That's because that's your imagination form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mbak, that's a quote from Camila, because he believes what surrealism in Indonesia is the realism. This is interesting as well, because she believes something that if we think that it could never happen, it actually happened already in Indonesia. So I think kind of a cynical point of view of Camila, and that's why she said that. But still, it's an interesting quotation from her, considering her film also placing a lot of surrealism scene and imaginary aspect of children. Maybe adults say that's only imagery, but maybe for the kids, that's part of the realistic form. I think so. But we need to talk with Camila for this. There's a flag. I'm not sure. Doc, the one who watched the movies.
Oh, right. I think so. I think there's a Malaysian flag too. I think there's a scene. There's parts of the movies are parts of the movie are on the Malaysian side, but I can't actually remember. Oh, I see.
Okay. The most interesting one is the movies. It's not from New Order. It's Nyoman and Sang Presiden. I got the file from one in Cinematheque and watched the movie. What is the sensitive issues there? Maybe I'm not in the same, the same stage with the government at the time. Why they banned the movie, but I think because of the characters, the Nyoman characters is looks so obsessive to the president. So I don't know, because I saw it's nothing wrong with the film. I mean, considering Orde Baru trying to, make a patronage and trying to keep the Soeharto as the one, the only, and the narrative of the film, it seems okay to me, but I put in a different way. I think the character is so obsessive to the president. So he really wants to see president. He really wants to see president, and he try every ways to see the president. But the kepala daerah, the local leaders doesn't agree with that. So maybe the problem is in there. That is why the government banned the films. Maybe, but still, it's just everything can happen in new orders.
What year was that?
1987.
Okay, and it never came out.
I think it's they changed the title twice and never been released.
Oh, interesting. And it was set in Bali.
Nyoman and President. Yes.
So, I mean, from the Nyoman, I assume it was.
Yeah. And also you see the Balinese figures as well.
Yeah. Other questions from the audience? I think Camila's idea about surrealism is interesting if she's thinking the nation through children. At some level, it's an imagined community that presents itself as imagined, right? So it's like a double imagined community that
layer imagined.
knows it's imagined, which is very different from Anderson, right? So it's not going to just move forward. It's going to stop and think about it being imagined first. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think I think Camila is trying to put different perspective on the way to construct the nation in this case. Not one bit using any national symbols at all.
Right.
Well, some scene, yes, they wearing the uniform and things, but still the way she put the children to part of the citizen is quite different for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's you've made me look at her films in a new way now. I now appreciate them more. So. Okay. Is typing. Anybody else in the audience?
My next gig, I'm doing a research on Alenia Pictures movies. It's still ongoing process. So I read the whole films. I think they made like 6-7 films, including Kings. The badminton star Lim Swee Kings, and I want to see what is the pattern I can read from their films. Well, I have my own assumption before that, but still, I'm still going on my reading on their films. So because it is very interesting the way they focus on children on all of their films, and the way they focus on all minorities. So children from Papua, from the border of Timor, and from Sumba, and then from I think it's areas in Kalimantan as well. So all films, the characters is from the rural and the minorities. All children, all with their own issues. But interestingly, Alenia Pictures. Alenia Pictures, yeah, it's an acronym from Ari Siasale and Nia Alexander, yeah, Nia, yeah, if not mistaken. They're couples, husband and wife. Alenia Pictures.
Okay.
No, Alenia. Thanks. Question from Mas Haradi. Can I answer it, Doc?
Yeah.
Yes, I mentioned Langitku and Rumahku in my chapter as well, in the part of the New Order, Children in New Order cinemas. I put Langitku Rumahku and Sidul, and also Surat untuk Bidadari as a film who criticizing the government. It is interesting, during the New Order, there's a two-sided of films made to support the idea of development policy from the New Order government. And the other hand is they made the films who criticizing the films, criticizing the policy. Langitku Rumahku clearly criticizing the development policy from the New Order at the time. They showing children who becoming vulnerable and get trouble because of the policy in Jakarta. Yes, they convey not really subtle. Even for me, is clearly, blatantly saying the New Order government has put the society in the wrong way. And also, the one who conveys subtle social criticism is Sidul, actually. If you see Sidul, Anak Betawi, you will see the scene when Sidul trying to defend his schoolmates against the children from other area. The children wearing like not really common clothes. They're wearing like I'm not sure, like a strange, like the topi cowboy and things. It's totally different. It's like the film trying to say, no, you're not okay to take over our land. You just go away. You're not part of us. So Sidul actually trying to criticize the policy from the New Order when they're trying to put Jakarta at that time as the central of Indonesia. So they put development on Jakarta by diminishing the Betawi ethnic. So there's also the scene saying you are rich because you sell your land and things. So this is also interesting. So yes, Mas Hardi, I agree. Is trying to criticize the David Hanan. Yes. Oh yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
I'm not sure, but we'll check it out. Okay.